So we're week 5, video number 1 of Chizuk for the week. So what's happening, not for the week, but from the 5th week. Anyway, it's to deal with our weaknesses anyway. So here we're learning Eichot Deot from the Rambam, and he says like that. He speaks about character traits, and it's interesting to know, if you read the Rambam wrote the Mishneh Torah, like the Shulchan Aruch, in an order that he felt was most beneficial for man, the necessary seder for a human being to become a real Jew, a real tzaddik, a real holy person. And what do we have at the beginning? Yesodei Torah, so the foundation of the Torah, which is learning to love God, to be of Him, learning to appreciate His world and all that. And then it speaks about Hilchot Deot. After Yesodei Torah, it's Hilchot Deot, which is the character traits. And character traits are all halachot for it. It's halachat for your character traits, which sometimes is forgotten, and that's the foundation. It's Yesodei Torah, and right away after is right the first step after the foundation, and then only after is Talmud Torah. You might have think that first you learn Torah, but no, the first awareness and the first thing you need to work on is character traits, because then obviously we're learning Torah now to fix our character traits, but you have to know it intellectually, and the Rambam put it that way. Okay, so how are they to be healed? He says people are sick, and the sicknesses are character traits. We have to look at ourselves as sick. We're sick people. Yeah, we're sick people. We have bad character traits. So how do we fix it? How are they to be healed, those people who are sick? We tell the wrathful man to train himself to feel no reaction, even if he's beaten or cursed. Well, actually, wait. No, sorry. That's not where we're starting from. It's a little bit before. This we'll get there later. So he speaks that there are different level of how bad the character trait is. But he says the two extremes of each trait, which are at a distance from one another, do not reflect the proper path. Meaning that we should never be extreme in any of our character traits. It's never good to be extreme. He's going to say later an exception. But any trait is not good. It is not fitting that an extreme is not good. It is not fitting that a man should behave in accordance with these extremes or teach them to himself. We shouldn't get used to any of those extremes. He's going to give example after. If he finds that his nature leans towards one of the extreme or adapts itself easily to it, or if he has learned one of these extremes and acts accordingly, he should bring himself back to what is proper and walk in the path of the good man. This is the straight path, Haderech Yeshara. So that first step, like making that work is being a Yashar. We spoke in MESSILAS, that's the first step. That's the beginning before becoming a tzaddik and a chassid. That's where you start. A Yashar is someone who is involved in finding the middle. He didn't reach it yet. He's going to involve in busy with making sure that he's calculating his trait and see if they're balanced. So the straight path. What's the Derech Yeshara? What's the straight path? This involves discovering the midpoint temperament and reaction nature of each and every trait that man possesses within his personality. This refers to the trait which is equidistant from either of the extreme, without being close to either of them. So every trait is like tiferes, it's perfect harmony. So there's something called anger, there's something called jealousy, there's something called lust, there's something called sadness, all those things. Okay, it exists there, and there's something called simcha, there's something called joy, or something called jealousy, or something called, so meaning it's on the positive side too, being silent and quiet and humble. So we have to find first the middle path for all of them. Therefore, the early sages instructed man to evaluate his traits, to calculate them, and to direct them along the middle path, so that he'll be sound of body. For example, he should not be wrathful, easily angered, nor be like the dead without feeling. Rather, he should adopt an intermediate course. He should display anger only when the matter display, not be angry. Display anger only when the matter is serious enough to warrant it, in order to prevent the matter from recurring. Similarly, he should not desire anything other than that which the body needs and cannot exist without. As it states, the righteous man eats to satisfy his soul. So I shouldn't fast all day. No, the middle path, you eat, but no, eat when you need. Not too much, not enough. Also, and something from we do everyday life, sleeping, eating, and all the common thing. Also, he shall not labor in his business except to gain what he needs for immediate use. As states, a little is good for the righteous man. You don't work all day. Work half a day and learn the rest of the day, right? Because the more you work, the more you're going to buy expensive things, the more you have to work to pay those things. But if your purpose is really to learn, okay. Now don't learn crazy too much. Don't learn not enough. Learn a middle amount, push yourself a bit and find a middle path. He should not be overly stingy, nor spread his money about. Don't give everything, but don't give nothing. But he should give charity according to his capacity and lend to the needy as is fitting. He should not be overly elated and laugh excessively. Meaning, you should have some sense of humor, but not too much that you laugh all the time. Nor be sad and depressed in spirit. Rather, he should be quietly happy at all time, with a friendly countenance. The same applies with regard to his other traits. This path is the path of the wise. That's the Chacham. Every man whose traits are intermediate and equally balanced can be called a wise man. A Chacham, or you want to know what's a Chacham? You know, the Chachamim, right? A Chacham is someone who is wise, is someone who knows how to balance his trait. So it's not someone who learns a lot of Torah. That's maybe a Talmid Chacham, Chacham in Torah, but a Chacham really is someone who knows how to be balanced all around. Yeah. Okay, so he says in the commentary, this path is the path of the wise. The Chacham is those whose behavior is controlled by their intellect. You are controlling your body, your emotions, your reactions, you're Chacham. That's a real Chacham. Now he continues, a person who carefully examines his behavior and therefore deviates slightly from the mean to either side is called pious, a Chassid. So that's what we're learning now. The PRISHUS is the level of a Chassid. So he's telling you, this is a Chassid. So meaning PRISHUS, we're working on putting fences so that we don't fall prey to those extreme behavior, negative behavior, and stay in the middle. Just here it seems that something doesn't make sense, because he says, and deviate slightly from the mean to either side is called, you shouldn't say who doesn't deviate. Okay. So meaning that he creates a balance, meaning I'm getting a little bit angry, so therefore I'm going to do something to be a little bit less angry. I'm getting laughing too much, I'm putting something on the other side to balance the thing. That's called a Chassid. What is implied? One who shuns pride, he explains, one who shuns pride and turns to the other extreme and creates himself lowly is called a pious. That's what a Chassid is. And that's the PRISHUS, that's the fence, that's the balance. Or I see my thing falling, I'm going on the other side. When you do go to the other side, you become a Chassid. Now we understand with Avram, who was pushed to the other side of his nature, and he is the exemplification of Chesed. You know, he who was fighting completely against Avodah Zarah that kills their son, he was pushed to, in that situation, to kill his son, so to say, completely against his nature. This is the quality of being a Chacham and a Chassid. This is the quality of Chokhmah and that's called a Chassid. However, you can be a Chassid without Chokhmah, as it says in Pirkei Avos, I believe. However, if he separates himself from pride only to the extent that he reaches the mean and displays humility, he's called wise. Oh no, so it means that Chassidus and a wise Chassid, it's like a me wise Chassid. This is the quality of wisdom. The same applies with regard to other character traits. So the pious, the Chassid of earlier generation, will bend their temperaments from the intermediate path towards either of the two extremes. For some trait, they will veer towards the final extreme. For others, towards the first extreme. This is referred to as behavior beyond the measure of the law. Lifnim mishuras adin. You want to know what it means, lifnim mishuras adin? It's not I'm being machmir. It's not that at all. I'm putting fences, but basically, it's a type of machmir, but it's a destructive one. I'm balancing the behavior, the negative behavior, or balancing one of the trait in one is too much one way, and making sure I'm work to go to the other extreme to create the perfect balance. This is doing something lifni mishuras hadin. We are commanded to walk in these intermediate paths, and they are good and straight paths, as states, and you shall walk in his ways. Okay, so that's the first part. We'll add another part now. Now, if we're sick, how are we get healed? I mean, we just spoke a little bit about that. But he gives example how to work on Chassidus, how to work on PRISHUS. So how are they to be healed practically? Besides the fact that we have to go on the other side, so he gives an example how to do it. He tells the wrathful man to train himself to feel no reaction, even he is beaten or cursed. That's extreme. That's the other extreme. He should follow this course of behavior for a long time until the anger is uprooted from his heart. That's what the Chassid does. The man who is full of pride should cause himself to experience much disgrace. So if you know you're full of gaiva and pride, have people insult you, put himself in situation on purpose to be, not publicly, but even publicly, in order to completely eradicate that part and find then the middle, the balance. It should be uprooted until it's uprooted from his heart. He should sit in the lowliest of places, dressed in tattered rags which shame the wearer, and the like, until the arrogance is uprooted from his heart and he returns to the middle path, which is the proper path. So you're going to dress like a homeless, and people are going to look at you like, oh wow, what's that guy? You break completely yourself, and then again, you shouldn't do it if you don't have that problem. But if you're arrogant, you feel in you're it's always about your name, how you look at people look at you, and then you gotta break that, go the other side. Extremely, extremely hard. When he returns to this middle path, he should walk in it the rest of his life. Then you walk in the middle. Then you dress correctly for the rest of your life, but not with too fancy things for your gaiva or kavod. One should take a similar course with each of the other traits. A person who swayed in the direction of one of the extremes should move in the direction of the opposite extreme and accustom himself to that for a long time, until he has returned to the proper path, which is the midpoint for each and every temperament. There are temperaments with regard to which man is forbidden to follow the middle path. So now, outside the middle path, which one are they? He should move away from one extreme and adopt the other. Among these is arrogance. So that's you have to be extreme, more than the other, and not follow the middle path. If a man is only humble, he's not following a good path either. Rather, he must hold himself lowly and his spirit very unassuming. It's like, oh, humble, I'm not important. No, that's, you have to understand you're nothing. That's really, that is why Bamidbar describes our teacher Moshe as very humble, and not simply humble. Anav meod, not just anav. Because that's an indication that you have to go to the extreme in that trait, not the middle. Therefore, our sages directed, hold oneself very, very lowly. Also, they declared in Dvarim, and your heart will be haughty, and you will forget God your Lord, Hashem. Furthermore, they said, whoever is arrogant should be placed under a ban of ostracism, meaning we should put in yes. I'm going to say what ostracism really mean. Veshamta badis beis gasusa ruar vafilu miktsasa. Okay, I'm not saying exactly. Kafar beikar. He's like all right. He's like, he should be like a kafar beikar, someone who is extremely arrogant. He should be like someone who is denying God. He should be placed as you're kafar beikar. Like, and publicly. That's how bad it is, how much you need to change, how much you need to eradicate this. This applies even if he's only somewhat arrogant. Wow, that's very powerful. If there's someone who is really arrogant, you see, technically, the community, or whatever, I don't know if it's the community, but well, he explains later what it means, not here. So that will be to explain later. Okay. He should school himself not to become angry even when he is feeling to be angry. If he should wish to arouse fear in his children and household or within the community, if he's a communal leader, so how do you do it? Because you have to be, and wishes to be angry at them to motivate them to return to the proper path, he should present an angry front to them to punish them, but meaning to make them return. But he should be inwardly completely calm. He should be like one who acts out the part of an angry man and his wrath, but is not himself angry. You have to play it out, just on the outside. You're an actor of being angry. If you see someone angry, it can only be through acting. Otherwise, it's very bad. Let's put it that way. The early sages said, anyone who becomes angry is like one who worships idols. They also say whenever one becomes angry, if he's a wise man, his wisdom leaves him. If he's a prophet, the Navi, his prophecy leaves him. The life of the irate is not true life. Therefore, they have directed that one distance himself from anger and accustom himself not to feel any reaction, even to things which provoke anger. This is the good path. That's why we spoke about the Baal Shem Tov, Hishtavut. Someone insult you or give you praise. If you're not arrogant, it doesn't matter to you. This is the way of the righteous. They accept humiliation. To accept humiliation. To accept humiliation. But do not humiliate others. They listen when they are shamed, but they do not answer. They do this with love and are joyous in their suffering. Doesn't mean you should smile at the person. The inside, you're joyous. Let yourself. That's keeps me humble. Of them states, and those who love him are like the sun when it comes out in its strength. And then continuing, he says that the best way to what's a siyag to this chachma, to not get angry. So like a fence, like we're speaking about being a chassid, he says is being silent as much as possible. I mean, that's great for this week. Someone wants to work on anger, put a fence to work on PRISHUS with arrogance, the bad trait of arrogance and pride. So he should cultivate silence and refrain from speaking except with regard to matters of knowledge or things that are necessary for his physical welfare. So that's a good thing you can do. On PRISHUS is only speak when necessary. It was said that Rab, the disciple of our saintly teacher, Rabbi Yohanasi, never uttered an idle word in all his days, which is what the conversation of most people consists of. One should not speak at length, even about matters involving one's physical needs. On this point, our sages commanded us and say, whoever speaks at length brings on sin. They also said, I have found nothing better than one's person than silence. Lo matzasi laguf tov ela shtika. Nothing better for the body, for the midot and for the character. Similarly, when speaking about matters of Torah or knowledge, one's words should be brief but rich in content. Don't speak extra words to appear fancy. This is what the sages commanded in their statement. One should always teach his students with brevity. In contrast, if one's words are many and the content scant, that is foolishness, of which Kohelet states, the dream comes with a multitude of subjects, and the voice of the fool with a multitude of words. So that's the most important thing, to keep the chokhmah, the wisdom, the chokhmah. Therefore, one should not hasten to answer, nor speak at length. He should teach his students in calm and tranquility, without shouting or wordiness. That's really like, no. Should be calm and tranquil. That's how you're supposed to teach Torah. You can get excited and that, but not like crazy. Should teach his student in calm and tranquility, without shouting or wordiness. This is what Shlomo HaMelech stated: the words of the wise are heard in tranquility. Because otherwise, if you say words and you get excited and your emotions are rise up, you say, "Oh, you're inspired." You were inspired because the guy was screaming. If he was not screaming, you might not have been inspired. So you have to connect to the words, not to the sound of the voice, so that it can be tricky. Okay, so we're going to stop here. I think there was a great connection to PRISHUS and being a chassid. And God willing, we shall continue tomorrow with more fascinating and exciting ways to become a real chassid.